book that I had at home, The Creative Power of Silence. Hush, this is the hour of silence, when soul seeks its refreshment. Turbulent mind, thou art ever restive for sport and gain. Thou art ever mad for new sensation and art in feverish plight. Wouldst thou rob me of my true happiness? Be still, that thou mayest not miss this new and blessed joy. How sweet is the sound of silence. How tender is its touch. How fragrant is its breathing. How lovely is its form. Oh, be still yet a while, that my soul may see and feel, hear and touch its own in this realm of peace divine. The reading I have chosen is from the Bhagwat Gita. When you keep thinking about sense objects, attachment comes. Attachment breeds desire, the lust of possession that burns to anger. Anger clouds the judgment. You can no longer learn from past mistakes. Lust is the power to choose between what is wise and what is unwise. Your life is utter waste. But when you move amidst the world of sense, free from attachment and aversion alike, there comes the peace in which all sorrows, and there comes the peace in which all sorrows end, and you live in the wisdom of the self. This is from the translation by Eknath Iswaran, bought at a garage sale in Bismarck. And I'd like to introduce our speaker. It has been my pleasure to meet Theo Basquiat for the first time. Theo is going to talk to us about pedal-powered philosophy. He will read from a collection of creative nonfiction essays based on his bicycle journeys west of the Missouri River, which is why I chose the silence piece, since there is a lot of silence out there. Experiences that have expanded his understanding of community, self, and the cosmic kinship of all that exists. Theo is professor of philosophy at Bismarck State College, and he has served as chair of the North Dakota Humanities Council. Theo is a farmer, a grateful cultivator of delicious gifts from the earth. Please come, Theo.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me back. We've been getting to know each other over the course of a few years, a little by little, but it's hard to intuit about a person who is speaking in front of people that that person might be both an introvert and quite shy, which I am. And one of the things that I can say about bicycling, which I've increasingly gotten into over the last 5 years or so, as kind of a main mode of transport. When I've taken some of my longer journeys, they're good for me in a whole bunch of ways, but one of the ways is that when you travel and you're in a car, you miss a lot. And one of the things you definitely miss is the encounter up close and personal with a lot of people that you would have just sped by on the highway, a lot of experiences that you're sheltered from ever having to have. And I've certainly found that to be the case. And one of the ways that I process my world is through writing. And so over the course of these years, I've gathered a number of experiences which for one reason or another were somewhat out of the ordinary, and it took some time for me to, put pen to paper and come to understand the experience that I had had. And so that's what I'm inflicting on you this morning. I'm going to read one of the essays that I wrote, and it's a year old in its final form now, and its topic is such that you'll have to say, wow, what a difference a year makes. So I'm going to read this, and if there's time, I might read one more that's shorter, but we'll start here, and then I'll see where we are time-wise. We end at 11:30, right? So, okay. All right. This one's called Prostitutes. Skin shellacked with clinker dust and sweat from 8 days of gravel travel, weary of peanut butter sandwiches and Cliff Bars, the oil boom hub of Williston, North Dakota promises relief in the form of cold beers and hot food before I locate a hidey hole to bivouac for the night. Hitching my iron steed to the gas meter behind the bar and gathering my gear into one pack, I cast a wary eye about the parking lot. Only Wednesday, but jammed to the hilt with heavy-duty rigs, dualies mostly, but also the occasional beat-to-hell sedan, adorned with license plates from all over the country. One truck sports a window decal, drill her deep and pull it wet. A set of balls dangling from the tow hitch for that added panache. Oil country. As one of the great unwashed roving the land, my dirtbag grubbiness fits that of the bar's clientele, who are also coated with the remains of their day and looking for solace. It's loud with laughter, country music, and voices raised to accommodate industry-induced deafness. The barkeep sets me up with the 2-for-1 special on Bud Light and gets the cook started on the grub I've ordered. A woman slides onto the stool next to me. "Buy me a drink, hun," she says, running a $60 set of nails through her not recently enough dye job hair. I signal the bartender, and without asking, he brings her a vodka cranberry. A regular. Breath, hot, boozy, smoky, with just a hint of cinnamon, envelops me. Lips brushing my ear as she whispers, "You looking tonight, hun?" Her hand moves on my junk, teasing, testing, stopping abruptly. I watch her face the practiced effort to mask repulsion with a smile. She's found the chamois pad liner I wear under my cargo shorts while biking. It's still damp with sweat. "No big deal, hun," she says. "I've seen it all." I laugh, wondering what all she's seen. "I'll buy you the drink, but I'm too tired for anything else," I say. 10 minutes in your car and I'll have you feeling like a new man," she says. "Nope," I say. "You queer or something?" she asks. "Some have said as much," I say. "Well, if you change your mind, I'm around all night," she says and downs her drink, readying herself to move on to her next mark. "Thanks," I say. "I hadn't been propositioned by the real genuine article before," I say, trying to be witty, trying to put some distance between myself and a potential jail cell hidey hole. "Hi, hun," hell, hun," she says. "From what I've seen, the world's full of us. Prostitute philosophy seems a fair trade for the drink, and the exchange gives me more to chew on than the burger placed in front of me. Something rings true in the way she's broadened the definition of a prostitute. I wasn't necessarily expecting to encounter a prostitute in Williston, but then again, I'm not surprised. The news continuously features stories about the increase in human trafficking and violence against women in this boom region. I'm savvy enough to know that human trafficking and prostitution aren't the same thing. I've also been scolded by the more enlightened to refer to prostitutes as sex workers, conferring recognition of both dignity and choice. Still, oil country seems a rough block to work, given the machismo of the balls dangling from the tow hitch crowd. Sex slicks the culture here, from bumper stickers that turn old hymns into drilling jingles, such as, "This is my story, this is my song," effing and fracking all the day long, to the suggestive imagery invoked by pump jacks, derrick erections, drill baby drill, blowholes, and whatnot. But this isn't just about sex anymore. but rather the extension of prostitution as a catch-all category for other kinds of activities as well. I'm not sure if she's elevated herself or brought the rest of us low, but I have to admit she's got me pegged. In the fine tradition of sophistry, I sell myself for money too, in the brothel of academia. The philosophical prostitute has offered me a Procrustean bed. I lie down, and then dawns the terrible awareness I will be made to fit. A parade of prostitutes passes through my brain, bubbling up from the well of childhood, a Bible story. Some poetic license here. A couple of prostitutes working the same man camp, living in the same overpriced duplex, and who, despite efforts to the contrary, got pregnant and gave birth to baby boys at about the same time. One night, one of the prostitutes, let's call her Ginger Lee, went in to check on her baby and found him dead. So she decided to pull a switch. She replaced the other woman's baby with her dead baby and went back to sleep. In the morning, the other prostitute, let's call her Brandy Starr, not only noticed the baby was dead, but also that the baby wasn't hers. A brouhaha ensued, perhaps even a tussle, as Brandy accused Ginger of taking her baby, while Ginger indignantly cried foul to be so accused. Finding the situation irresolvable between them, they took their case to the law for resolution. The mediation judge had a reputation for being wise, fair, and just. Perhaps bemusedly, because when isn't a skirmish between two prostitutes an occasion for at least a little amusement, the judge listened to the she said, until he'd heard enough. He had the living child brought before him and told his clerk to bring a sword from his office. He was, I believe, an avid collector of medieval weaponry and secretly pined for this sort of occasion. Sword in hand, he announced his decision. I will cut the child in two, and you will each get half. That is the only fair way to settle this matter. When the real mother, Brandy, heard the judge's decision, she cried, "No, stop! Give the child to Ginger. Just let him live." For her part, Ginger said, "No, cut him in two. Neither one of us should get him." And thus it was discovered in the reactions of these two women which prostitute was the real mother of the living child. The judge returned the child to Brandy. Ginger apparently lived to scheme another day, and did so regularly. In Sunday school, perhaps from discomfort in having to explain prostitution to third graders, the focus was placed on the wisdom of the judge. His clever means of sussing out the true mother's identity. Yeah, that's neat, but older now, I needn't truck in superficial banalities. The enlightened one in this story is Brandy. From love, willing to forgo possession and assertion of her rights, so the child will live, knowing the difference between what is legal by decree, but death-dealing when enacted. It is tempting to dismiss this extraordinary act with condescension, even a prostitute, that kind of thing. But that seems a failure of moral imagination, moral vision, given the bar prostitute's invitation to see myself, all of us, as prostitutes of a kind. Through this new lens, I realize I've seen Brandy and Ginger's story played out more recently, countless times, only in each case, the life in question was severed. The latest, an encounter between two more prostitutes, a rancher and an oil man. The rancher, let's call him Jimmy, owns a considerable acreage outside of Stanley, North Dakota, working the land for profit and livelihood for better than 25 years. Dick, the oil man, shows up one day on the ranch looking to turn a trick of his own. He wants to lease the mineral rights from Jimmy, who is lucky, frankly, that he still owns the mineral rights and has some choice in the matter. Dick shows Jimmy the estimated oil beneath his property and a proposal for the location of 6 wells, the prospective frac lines, and the access roads that will be required. It isn't a pretty sight, isn't good for the land, but the numbers are persuasive. Jimmy will be a millionaire several times over if things go like Dick thinks they will. Dick smiles, says, "Yeah, boy, we're going to frack it all. You can get on board or miss the money train, if you know what I mean." Dick happens to have the paperwork with him, a form of exchange accepted and sanctioned by the legal system. Jimmy signs, they shake on it, and the sword is lowered, sundering life at the source, the land. It seems a fair, just, perfectly legal deal. Prostitutes, full of beer and beef, skulking about in what darkness I can find, I bed down for the night near an inconspicuous hedgerow, Williston humming all around me. I've seen the sword at work all over the land during my pedal-powered journey. Pump jacks bob and thrum. Natural gas flares create perpetual twilight where once prairie blackness prevailed. The land is scabbed with well pads and scarred by private access roads. Sulfur wafts through the air, overpowering the sage. I've ridden by just 2 of the ugly remediation sites for the hundreds of spills of brine and oil that have occurred since the start of the boom, many of which went undetected for weeks and months at a time, polluting water, killing wildlife, ruining the health of the land for generations to come. I am riding through a landscape of tricks turned. It's been profitable, so the sword has been welcomed and wielded as the right thing to do in this situation. Until tonight, I hadn't thought how I've been righteously citing my exceptionalism, denying accusation, swapping my dead for the living, hiding with my species behind the semblance of right masquerading as justice. Call me Ginger, Dick, or Jimmy, it's all the same. Body cradled by the cool, damp earth, caressed by moonlight and serenaded by crickets. It turns out I am looking tonight for a prostitute. I'm looking for Brandy, hoping she'll show up in me, in my species. Thanks. So it's 9 after. Should I read one more? Okay. So this one, you'll be able to tell by the nature of how it ends, that I'm still wrestling with this one. So we'll let it be as it is. This one's called Coyote Road. Scrub brush, sage thickets, cattle and sheep nibbled nubs of bunch grass. Defiant flora of the Colorado Plateau joins miles of barbed wire fencing to frame both sides of the gravel road I'm riding. Jackrabbits, gangly but fleet, bolt from cover and race in alarm across my path before disappearing into a new hideout. Though I'm both disruption and danger for them, the jackrabbits are entertaining companions on this isolated road. I have them all to myself. No other human or domestic livestock sightings for quite some time. My eyes range and feast upon the terrain, running the distance to where the plain smashes hard against the crumbling, sloped bases of red-orange rock. The vastness of the land is tempered only by the pale blue-gray of the sky above. I feel small here against the land and the sky and the wind that blankets my sweating body with the dust of others long dead. With the blanket, my temporality is made visible. I am a sheet-clad ghost asserting solidity against geologic time and space. Ahead, a black blob breaks the line of steel fence posts. Nearer now, the blob morphs into a horror. A coyote impaled through the lower jaw, post tip emerging where its tongue once lulled. Barbarism, a signature of bravado capable by only one species. Pausing amid waves of sadness and anger, I am taken back to another place. Outside Anaconda, Montana, riding in the extended cab of a dually with a carpenter crew bound for a job site in Butte. A pickup parked on the roadside, a man leaning over the hood, aiming a scoped rifle at a coyote running far across the plain. Coyote stops, looks back. The rifle reports. My boss sounds the horn. The men heap curses upon Coyote's fallen body. I desecrate Coyote with my silence. My heart is pounding. I retreat inside, close my eyes, but I cannot make Coyote run again. I pedal on, feeling the day sullied now, rehearsing like the introvert I am what I should have said in that pickup that day, what I would say to the one who impaled this coyote. I work myself into quite a froth by the time I notice another blob on the fence line, not 3 miles from the first. Pointing my bike at the ditch, I roll off the road and stand straddling my bicycle in front of the dead coyote. Desiccated, this one has been here a while. Innards and muscles mostly gone. A coat hanging on a bone hanger, perfumed by the sickly sweet smell of rot. Dismounting, I grab the skull in hand and give it an upward thrust, freeing it from its cross. I decide against burial. I find the wanton killing of coyotes egregious, this common subsequent display by impalement heinous. But I don't want to hide the act either, nor insert one of my human customs on Coyote's world. I lay the remains on the earth, knowing nature will return Coyote to the elements soon enough. Feeling emboldened by this success of action, I jump on my bike and ride the road, the high road, back into the howling wind to the first coyote. Leaving my bike on the roadside this time, I walk through the brush to stand before a coyote, stomach turning. This is a fresher kill. Maggots and flies are at work, the horrid stench assaulting my nostrils. I stand there a long time, reasoning, searching for courage, waiting for my stomach to settle. This was going to be messy. I wrap the bandana from my head around my nose and mouth against the ghastly plume. I start removing my biking gloves. Then a voice, low, calm. What you doing? I spin about to find 2 men in a pickup, stopped just before my bike. The voice belongs to the driver, leaning out the open window, one arm draped across the steering wheel, his hand holding a can of beer. His passenger returns my stare, drains a can of something, and tosses it out his open window. There's a rifle, of course, in the gun rack on the back window. Adrenaline surges, but I've gone cold, heart pounding. A trick of the wind, a trick of Coyote. I hadn't even heard their approach. This feels like trouble of the worst kind. I asked, what you doing? I pull down my bandana, clear my throat, and mustering all the moral courage and righteous indignation available to me, I answer, nothing. A lie. He knew it. I knew it. This was not good. Looked to me like you're gonna mess with my coyote. So this was the culprit, the villain I'd cursed and somehow summoned. But now I am scared. The place conspires against me. I muttered, no, just taking a pee break. We regard one another in silence, looks loud with mutual disdain. We are incomprehensible to one another. But he is the dog and he smells my fear. You know what I think? I think you should get on that little bike of yours and see if you can pedal faster than I can drive. My feet stay rooted despite the weakness of my knees. Go on, he says. I'll even give you a head start. I'm not sure what I was thinking then. I don't remember. I can tell you that I took my helmet from its sagebrush perch and pointlessly buckled it in place on my head. I righted my bike, climbed on, and started to pedal. The wind at my back carried the sound of the pickup starting. Engine revved a couple of times for effect, like some really bad movie cliche. Adrenaline stole my thoughts and fanned the fear. I pushed the pedals faster and faster against a fate that seemed inescapable. I was hemmed in by barbed wire. I was coyote running. I remembered, though, not to stop, not to look back, expecting only the kiss of a bumper or the report of a rifle. They disappeared as unexpectedly as they appeared. I escaped. But the encounter haunts me. I see my body, left to molder and dry under the unyielding sun, obscured by dense thickets of scrub brush, cared for by the maggots, the birds, mice, maybe even Coyote himself. And this visage is the lesser of two specters. More ominous is the moral failure. My failure to confront those men, or even to wait and return to the Coyote, by stealth if necessary, to finish what needed to be done for Coyote. Some will seek to let me off the hook for this. Coyote was dead, after all, and I am alive. Aristotle himself might call any action other than retreat foolhardy in this situation, incommensurate with the facts of the case, a failure of prudential reasoning. I am not so easily absolved. I believe my responses in each moment are constitutive of who I become. These actions cultivate my future ability to respond. In such moments, I see what I am and what I've become. Too much talk and not enough action. I talk about the sacredness of all life. I worry about it raining, the worms coming out onto the bike path, turning me into an agent of death. I talk about the grasshoppers in the fall bounding into the spokes of my wheels, decapitated. I talk and talk and talk, but I was silent before those men. I didn't even try to persuade, didn't speak on Coyote's behalf. So today, I talk of cowardice and regret, and admit I chose myself that day on the Colorado Plateau. I sided with the impalers, complicit by my cowardice in perpetuating a great evil against my Coyote kin. Thanks.
Closing words are brief. Be happy, not because everything is good, but because you can see the good side of everything. Be happy not because everything is good, but because you can see the good side of everything. Thank you.